side. There is that Bard, that's Brand rather. No real surprise. Siva following suit, so no surprises yet. But let's see where some of these other priority picks are taken off the table. Shen, a little unconventional, but very targeted towards Smurf.
Yeah, this is a bit of a new ban for CLG. As far as the day one bans that these teams had, they were actually both red side on day one, and they both banned Sivir and Nidalee throughout that. But if they were going to try and mix things up, I wonder if that Nidalee is going to come through as a final ban. I personally would not want to give Nidalee to Xmithy, but it's gone down to the last ban. Maybe it happens.
And Caitlyn taking off the table, some respect being shown to Stixxay, and he was having a bit of a laugh about that. As he got it once, may not get it again.
That's the funny thing about Stixxay's Caitlyn is he comes to the international events, he crushes on it, and then you don't see it in North America, and then all of a sudden he comes back and he's crushing on it again. But shocker, no Nidalee ban.
Oh, wow.
They don't even pick it first.
And the insta-lock on the Syndra there is going to be huge for Huhi. This is a champion he was very comfortable on in the summer split in North America, and in the playoffs as well. He's performed very well on it.
And I think CLG was a little bit pressured into doing this when you mention it, because the Irelion Sol is not available. They picked Vladimir into the Syndra against G2. I think that is their comfort picks as far as going into Syndra, and those were all off the table, so they kind of had to pick it first, and now they're going to be dealing with the Nidalee, but at least there were no other jungle bans, so there's still some high-tier junglers left, like Elise.
Yeah, exactly. Elise, I think, is going to be a great option for Smithy. He's very comfortable on this, and I'm going to be interested to see where Stixxay goes as far as the AD carry role. He was double banned out, Lucian has been taken away, and there has been a lot of kind of disagreement on where these tiers of AD carries are. Some teams are still picking Ashe, some think it's completely not viable. Jhin has seen play, we've even seen hyper carries like Jinx.
A lot of time to figure that answer out. Council Logic Gaming getting excited in the crowd here in San Francisco, but I'm not expecting the Teemo. What is more likely in this rotation? Probably jungler, not reveal anything more? Or there's no competition for it, right?
Yeah, I think it's the duo lane for them. Obviously, I say that after they started hovering it, but it's because of the way they played against G2, heavily prioritizing the ability to get priority in that bottom lane. I think it is CLG's biggest strength as a team, is just the laning phase in general from the bot side. The game is very focused around that, seemingly at Worlds, and they locked down a couple good picks there. Bard was going to be contested anyways.
Yeah, the contested pick, and Afro is someone who gets banned out on Bard all the time in North America. He is known as an incredible Bard player, fantastic roaming, early plays that can be made, and the ultimate, when he hits 6, he's a great engage tool.
Definitely track record that screams great plays on that champion. Kira was hovering the Anivia. It's actually something he's very well known for. Used that in the 1v1 All-Stars event last year, actually used it to beat out Lion Gaming in the qualifier for Worlds, but has moved away from it. 10 seconds left. Jace, another power pick on the current patch.
Well, especially when they have Nidalee, they can very easily set up for a poke composition. So it's most likely the Tahm Kench in the bottom lane with the Lucian. This Jace can go in the mid lane or the top lane, depending on who they want more practice on with it. So those are generally good for ANX as they're lining up for this. Maybe even Rumble in the top lane for Smurf could make a pretty solid composition, depending on what Darshan's going to be picking against it.
I also like the Tahm Kench quite a bit into the Syndra and the Bard. You can eat up your teammates when they get stunned out. It's a lot of protection against that Syndra, who is normally going to be able to one-combo people if they get ahead. So I think it's a pretty intelligent pick here. And you know, as you said, Rumble available in the top lane. That has been very big so far in Worlds.
We'll have to track how quickly Lecrit moves around the map to actually make use of that ability, and what sort of impact he can have with that Abyssal Voyage. Has the possibility of being very game-changing. So this could be Jace into Syndra, or Jace into Darshan champion. Most likely going to be this Poppy.
And they've played Poppy into Jace before. They're not afraid of the matchup, even though it is an unfavorable one. Because I think in this case, CLG is very much picking towards their composition and their team play.
Yeah.
They love the fact that Darshan is a playmaker on it, and they don't really care what he's going to be laning against in this situation.
I think it's very intelligent here, and we saw in the previous game he was willing to really sacrifice his lane. He didn't have high damage, but he had high impact because it's about the teleports, it's about the flanking and the playmaking ability that Poppy provides.
Yeah, and if you think back to that G2 game, it was that teleport down into the bottom lane where Sven was freezing. It was a good call. It was team play for CLG that came out on top. Albus knocks Luna. Backs against the wall now. Last rotation. Top lane or mid lane? That is what they're discussing. What is left in the champion pool for either role, knowing that obviously Darshan can play against this Poppy and has proven he can beat it?
I think the Rumble is possible for the lane if they want to. Trundle, as they actually lock in, is now going to be going top lane, so they're throwing the Jace down in the mid lane. Trundle wins the stat stick matchup against Poppy for most of the late game, but once again in the early and mid game, the Poppy can have more map impact, so that's what they're being willing to trade into. And it also rounds out their poke composition if you're on ANX right now, because it's the crucial disengage that they need if they want to sit outside of a turret and poke.
I would also say one of the great things about Trundle with these poke compositions is it actually makes your skill shots very easy to hit. You drop a pillar down, it provides a massive slow that kind of lines people up for the Nidalee, for the Jace to land that poke and hopefully push CLG off of these turrets.
A lot of pressure in the hands of Smurf. He's got a pretty good track record on this Trundle. Domestically, 5-1 throughout the summer, excluding the playoffs. And as the team comps on your screen, it feels like another one of those games where if a team gets ahead, the team composition could potentially run away with the game, you know, falling prey to the poke or falling prey to the engages on CLG side.
And I do also think that at the World Championship, we tend to get in this mode of thinking, oh my goodness, the meta is super snowbally right now. When in actuality, what's happening is the teams are really mismatched, so you're getting snowballed games. But I do agree with you in this composition in particular. If a poke composition falls behind, it's really not very effective. So that's where Albus Nox Luna is going to have to be very careful in the early game to not let that happen.
Well, they had a very kill-heavy early game. Yeah, on day one of Worlds, this is Albus Nox Luna. They need to farm as well as pick up those kills. If you think they can pick it up, hashtag ANX win. Or if you think North America is going to pick up another win, hashtag CLG win. We're loading up onto the Rift. It's North America taking on the CIS. And let's find out who comes out victorious in this Group A matchup.
And I'm really looking forward to seeing our first Nidalee here at Worlds, because I know that throughout the end of the regular season, it had actually fallen down in some priority for people in favor of Gragas and Rek'Sai. Those two champions have been nerfed fairly heavily, so the punishment for Nidalee is a little bit down. And I think the main reason it's been banned so much is its incredible speed while farming and how that can lead to map pressure. So Steos will need to be able to significantly outpace Xmithie if he wants this pick to have value.
Yeah, and Smithy, it's going to be much more about that ganking pressure that Elise does provide. That's why you see so many players even willing to go for the Moby boots early on, just to be able to get in the right position, get these ganks going. And I think Kira especially is going to have to play very, very careful with the fact that Afro can roam up on the Bard. You have that Syndra for the CC, and the Elisa is a great ganker on mid lane.
A little bit of trading early on. Feels like they're contesting for some early vision. Smithy and Steos going down. He's just going to walk away. No real commit here because there's not a lot of CC to work with.
CLG is also very willing to bluff early game, the way they're kind of taking a bunch of poke right here. The bottom lanes haven't been spotted out for either team, so both of these teams are actually kind of faking like they have a 5-person invade. And in actuality, what's happening since Suhi's gone to lane is Smithy's getting pushed out of his jungle early.
Yeah, a lot of poke going down. Smithy below half health. Steos and Smurf gonna at least start off the Sentinel and then start to back away, but it feels like this
really
contest
tense.
is still going on.
Yeah, this is actually pretty rough for CLG. They're getting bullied around quite a bit, but Smithy did get both the little golems.
Yeah, from an experience perspective, CLG is winning this one.
Yeah.
If ANX ends up falling back here, they're going to actually set themselves into a big deficit.
100 hit point, flash forward, flash out. The shock blast doesn't connect. Both mid laners use their summoners. Only a cleanse for Kira.
This is a little bit strange. Steos still wanting to get this, but Smithy actually has a bit of damage here. He could force him out. All he has is W, so it's not like he can bite him afterwards. He wins the trade. It's not like Steos has a heal.
This is one of the craziest level 1s I think I've ever seen. It's just 2.5 minutes in. Both junglers are level 1. We have a level 1 mid laner, two level 1 top laners.
And the thing we have to track here is actually how CLG won this by a lot. He ended up having to go through his potions, but that doesn't matter that much because he didn't forego as much experience as Kira did when leaving the lane. And Xmithie's going to be able to get the blue buff. Steos is now going to be starting his jungle a minute and a half late because he didn't get any experience when harassing the blue buff, and now he's gone back. Because of the gold over time, he bought a
And actually, when you think about it, that's supposed to be the strength of Nidalee, is outpacing the Elise. He's really given up one of the big strengths of this champion. He's going to be massively behind the Nidalee.
We'll find out what he can do with this deficit. Luckily, can close the gap, but now he's playing to go even. Actually going very low on the Imperial Wolves here.
He gets his first CS 3 minutes and 17 seconds into the game as a jungle Nidalee, who normally, if you're pacing, if you just would have been patient, stuck to his own jungle, you were level 3 with double buffs at that time.
Yeah, certainly. But this is obviously, they're trying to take a risk, right? They set up this pre-planned play to try to make a big risk, which could pay off in a big reward, right? If they can shove Smithy out, if they can steal the blue buff and put it in that opposite situation, that's how they could see themselves getting a lead. So they're taking a risk. It didn't pay off here, and now they're going to have to deal with the consequences.
And because of that, it puts the game into a bit of an improvised state, because this isn't something that happens in scrims very often. I do know that CLG love to improvise, and now they've invaded back, but because of the Wolf Smite, Steo saw that, so it's almost a little bit expected that he was going to get invaded, and I think it was very smart that he started Wolves.
Smithy and Afromu managed to make it out before the crit. Can jump into support Steos. Afromu's now returning this one around, pounce forward, takes a magical journey, goes into a penguin and flies his way out of there.
Cheeky little play there by Afromu, and does try to take away the Grom. Not going to be able to do it, but Smithy, while Afro's buying time, is going for the red buff.
Let's see if Stayhouse is sensing it. It doesn't actually look like it. Essentially, both Smithy and Afro were spotted by the Wolf Spirit on that side of the jungle. Stayhouse is expecting. Now he knows it's been stolen. He hit a Spiderling on the way out. Smithy gets 3 buffs.
So, well, a good start by Smithy to, I think, react to the aggressive play from Albus Nox Luna, taking stock of the CS, even across the board with the exception of that mid lane. Kira being shoved in, I think not too surprising at the early levels against a Syndra. And obviously all of that additional time Kira spent running in the river for that very crazy level 1. Going to put him behind a little bit of CS.
We also need to be able to track Darshan and Smurf, because Smurf is kind of beginning to reach that point on Trundle. If there's been no early game teleports for anything, the Trundle actually is pretty legit against the Poppy, so as far as this lane is concerned, it's going quite well for Albus Nox.
It's got to go very well for Albus Nox, I feel, because Smurf, I think, should be able to play the side lane a little better, but obviously Darshan's TP impact way more powerful with that giant hammer.
Yeah, they certainly are going to be, but Smurf is going to want to try to keep this in the side lanes, I think, a lot of the time. And if he can get that isolated 1v1, he can start to really build an advantage against Darshan, especially as you hit level 6. We all know Poppy wants to build full tank, which is just kind of gifting those stats over to the Trundle, who's going to give him that advantage in that split push.
Playing to his favor. We've not talked too much about Styx and Afromu. They've farmed their way up. Again, even with the Miracle and the crit. The crit's on that Tom Kench. Catch a quick glimpse of Darshan TPing up. I want to see how that lane plays out a little later as well.
And Smithy even making a move there early just to get some autos with the red onto that mid lane turret. They know they're going to try to be pushing this in, and they want to work on this turret early to try to set it up later for getting that first tower blood gold.
Yeah, Huhi is one of the mid laners who loves to roam and also gets some of the most help from his jungler lately. But you can take over the map as seen with Cinder if you're able to get the first turret down early, and then you can start roaming. Nice spear there by Steos, though.
A little stun onto Steos as Huhi makes his way out. Unleash Power is available. Syndra, Ghost, and Flash versus the Flash Cleanse. Cleanse was used by Kira earlier. I didn't quite see exactly when. It's important to note that that is down if Xmithy can find an opportunity into the lane, rather. And there we go, catch a little glimpse. A Miracle and a crit. They've shoved this wave quite heavily towards Afro and Stixay.
Yeah, I don't think things are going disastrously for Albus Nox. Their initial invade didn't work that well, but Nidalee can still catch up. The kit itself on Nidalee is insane as far as farming is concerned, and if he just commits to it, he will get an experience advantage onto Xmithy as long as his lanes aren't dying to these ganks.
Yeah, the gold is actually dead even. Smurf is going to blow his teleport, just get back there and be able to farm. So both top laners without a teleport here early on, so less playmaking ability, and this may unlock some of the bot lanes to go a little bit more aggressive.
Got a quick glimpse there of Smurf. Two wards rather, after teleporting to the top lane. Pink in the river, and Invisi ward over towards that Tribush. Going to get some additional information. Steos also on this quarter of the map. Got himself that Tracker's Knife. And Smithy leaving base similar. Amtome to boot. Seen a couple of very early pink wards on the side of Albus Nox. See if they can get some value out of it. Fairly defensive near the river, just there behind that red buff.
And I think it's pretty intelligent. A lot of this is just trying to keep Smurf safe in that isolated 1v1. Do not allow Smithy to get behind him, sneak around, which is exactly what Smithy's kind of looking to do here right now.
So far, I think the ward coverage and the smite plays by Steos have been pretty good, and maybe they can actually get a collapse here, although Kira's got to be careful about getting comboed.
Remember, there's no cleanse. Kira is able to walk away. Huhi threw down the ultimate, and Huhi flashed forward for the Smithy's got a flash available, makes it across the wall. CLG down 2 flashes for no summoners on the side of Albus Nox.
Yeah, they popped the Hex Drinker, and that's about it. So I like the collapse by Albus Nox, and that's because they had the proper pink ward. in the brush there.
Exactly. Smithy didn't check the brush, and he's going to pay the price for that. Both summoners are down. I also feel like it's not really respecting the power of that early Hex Shrinker.
Oh, Theos gets gobbled up, and that's the flash of Tom Kench. He gets spat on, and Albus Nox get first blood. Here comes Stixay, grey health popped. Licrit's looking for a way out, flashes into the river. Stixay fancies his chances, doesn't go aggro yet. Kira's running low on mana, pinned against the wall. Here comes Stixay. Kira goes down, 1-for-1 trade, and Afro's looking for more. Gets the auto down onto Licrit, but Licrit makes it a tower, 1-for-1 at the end of the day.
First blood, though, goes to ANX. They're the ones with the gold lead here, doing very well in the early game.
I feel like as far as kill distribution, unfortunately for ANX, since it was support versus an AD carry, CLG will still win that trade, but they don't really deserve to win the trade, in my opinion, because Steos was, I think, properly invading here since they had more people here at the very start of the fight after we tried to come up, but it was definitely too late. And then, if a Miracle would have been faster on that roam, I think they can win this fight as well. And Kira could have ran away if he just follows his teammates, but only because he turned the wrong direction to get caught.
Going for Darshan, but
Just
Smithy's here.
This is so scary. Licrit devours Smurf, spits him back out. CLG are donated a kill, and Smurf's able to flash away to safety, but that was optimistic.
Gotta bring a friend.
Yeah, that was a huge overextension. Even if Smithy wasn't there, I don't see how Darshan actually dies in that 2v1, as both the Trundle and the Tahm Kench were low.
And this sets up a counter dive because they know Tahm Kench isn't there. Turret's off.
There ain't no tower. A Miracle's gonna need a miracle. Gets caught out, summon a heal, flashes away. 6A takes a tower shot, and Afro forced to flash to safety.
Pretty well handled there by Miracle, but it's 2 summoners down, and he is going to be very vulnerable.
Oh!
I love the fact that Stixay moved to the side so there was no damage fall off on his ultimate, because if he shoots that through the minion wave, it wouldn't have had enough damage to kill. The gank got both summoners. The True Shot Barrage finished the kill.
Very clever, and it's 3 members of ANX moving down to the bot line. They want to make Stixay pay.
Oh,
Jace coming in on the side.
How hungry is he? No flash available.
Comes the poke.
Very good slow. And eats a Mystic Shot as well. Stixay's able to walk away. Such good play from Stixay on the True Shot Barrage.
I'm going to be very interested to see if Stixay is actually going to go towards the Triforce, as we've seen as kind of that snowball-y option. A lot of people have been going for that. Obviously, Iceborne Gauntlet's still very popular, and we're not going to get any information on that just yet as he picks up the pickaxe.
Yeah, pickaxe indeed. Going to get towards that Mura mana. And Immune rather. And up to the top lane, Darshan was shoving the wave in very heavily against Smurf. Both top laners have their TPs available. Oh, look at that damage! Cleanse comes out, he's down. That was just so much burst.
I liked what they did there, and I also like the ward coverage that ANX has, but I have to criticize CLG for not checking the brushes where the pink wards are being placed.
This is also very dangerous. They don't have a mid laner, and the collapse is coming in here. Smithy gets eaten up.
That's a devour. Darshan cancels the TP. Smithy's looking for a magical journey, but he can't find it. Kira's got another.
That was so disrespectful. They know that he just died in the mid lane. They're fighting, and Kira just simply walks over. They're going to be outnumbered. Very poor play there from CLG.
And now it's an uncontestable Ocean Drake while we're still in the laning phase. One of the best Drakes to get this early in the game, so it's a little bit of a disastrous turn of events there for CLG. But you have to credit Albus Nox for punishing CLG's mistakes. I think it all starts when Huhi does the roam top lane, doesn't check for wards on the backside, and then they're down a player while Smithy's going for a Tahm Kench who will take forever to kill if anything's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm not even sure what he was thinking. And Darshan gets interrupted on that TP as well. So bad goes to worse. They lose the summoner, they lose the kill, and the dragon.
And teleport advantage to Smurf as well now for a couple of minutes, if an opportunity can present itself. Darshan's going to get bullied out just a little, got a minion wave to fight with. Smurf decides against this fight. He doesn't have access to his ulti, so that's probably a good, big reason why. Flash from Smith, Steos just pounces away, keeps his cool.
Yeah, I really think that CLG would have needed a little bit more patience right there. Steos was going to be going for the counter jungle, and they just kind of jumped the gun, not respecting Steos' ability to react. Albus Nox definitely staying in this one, and CLG knows better than anyone else how very real these games can turn into losses.
Teleport comes out here from Smurf, and for Albus Nox, that's the second time we've seen them at Worlds. And the second time they've had a fairly chaotic early game. It's not quite as dramatic as day one, but it is working a little bit more in their favor as they're even out 13 minutes.
And top lane, bot lane are quite even. There is a very big CS discrepancy in the mid lane despite those 2 kills. So that is the one area that they are kind of falling behind, and that's partly what is keeping CLG so close as far as the gold goes.
But I do want to compare and contrast this a little bit to the game against Rocks. the game against Rox was much higher in kills, and there was also a much larger CS discrepancy where it was definitely going to matter. It was about a 50 CS difference in the bottom lane, and Prey's Lucian was clearly going to take off. However, in this CLG game, where Huhi has the CS advantage, he's down in deaths, and Kira's been able to keep up kills and assists. So instead of it being several thousand gold difference, Kira's up 200 gold on Huhi. So it's not like there's an individual disadvantage that Albus Nox is facing here. And if they play the map properly, they do have the lead.
Albus Nox got first blood, got first tower blood, and I actually saw Stayos pick up a needlessly large rod, sell that, and then change it to the Giant's Belt. I think that's slightly smarter at this stage, but definitely looking committed to that heavy damage poke style.
Yeah, I think it is very smart, especially with the Syndra on the other team. You have to show some respect to the burst potential there, and getting that extra HP is going to help out quite a bit.
And I also think, as we see, the crit comes in alone once again.
Smithy's going to find a magical journey and at least get away from the piercing lights, and Afro found a backdoor.
Gorgeous angle there on the magical journey from Afro to barely keep Xmithy out of that.
To follow up getting that first tower top lane, they've also gotten a lot of vision on CLG's blue side jungle. So this is making it pretty scary for Darshan to go into this extended lane against the Trundle where he doesn't have the safety of his turret. He can get chased down, and we'll see if Smurf's going to be able to extend the advantage because of that.
And I also think it's easy to discount from a casual viewer perspective, or even from our perspective a lot of times, when you have a wild card region, so to speak, coming in, to think that the only chance they have is to do something crazy and catch them off guard. But what's happened so much with the two regions that actually made it here, when you look at INTZ from Brazil, as well as Albus Nox here, Albus Nox was the best macro team from the CIS region. So if they do get ahead, they know where to place the wards, they know how to strangle the lead, and they know how to play the map. So with leads like this, they can do it, and it's just a matter of executing.
Definitely going to help if they can pick up this Rift Herald. Smurf has been enabled this entire game. With 15 minutes in, Albus Nox hold on to the 1,000 gold lead. And it will be contested, however. Darshan's going to come in, swings up the Keeper's verdict, and the verdict is, you are out of here! Smurf is sent packing down in the mid lane. Kira jumps onto Huhi. Remember, he's got the Maw of Malmortius. A shield will pop shortly. Cleanse is available if needed. Huhi's going to sidestep that shock blast. And Kira's going to walk away down in the bottom lane. Xmithy comes to put pressure on a Miracle in Lacrypts.
And CLG should be able to grab their first turret, and little victories on both sides of the map. I'm actually pretty impressed with how Darshan played that. Knocking out the Trundle meant Nidalee could not stick around to finish off the Rift Herald. Very well done by him, and that could be key.
Yeah, Darshan just had to hit one, and because he caught them doing the Rift Herald, CLG was able to just kind of walk into the bottom lane. It's one of the strengths of Xmithy, being in the right place at the right time. Even if it doesn't have to be clever, it's just right, and it works.
Ooh, big damage. Poke works too. He does have to be careful. Needs to get in to clear the way. 50% of his towers dropped. CLG got that bottom outer turret, so that will even that up at 1-1. But as it stands, Albus Nox still with the minor lead. Teleport's coming back up again. Darshan's got his. Smurf is on cooldown. Big item points again. Frozen Fist, Man Immune, Morellonomicon. Starting to build up, so both of these teams scaling in power.
They certainly are, but Darshan really has been kind of pinned down to his lane. He hasn't been able to make that kind of playmaking ability that he had against G2. He hasn't been able to TP around the map, has been stuck in his lane, trying to constantly clear the waves and keep this Trundle at bay.
And I think a lot of that just has to do with A, the Nidalee getting through and actually, despite having a slow start, still being able to invade the jungle, and B, CLG just not having the wards with which to teleport to. They don't have necessarily enough map pressure to let that happen, and Lacrit just loves using his Tom Catch ultimate. It's a... I'll give that a C. C. No, I was going to go C plus or minus. It's right there. It's
just a solid C.
That's the grade.
Lacrit, there you go.
Not a good ult.
You still gave it a C?
He didn't die.
Okay, okay. So that would have been a D.
He still pushed him back a little bit. C minus?
Got it. A little bit of pressure on Stixay. Force him away at least. But the lane's still heavily in favor of Stixay and Afromoot. Plus 20 odd CS. Big item difference for now. And that Ezreal continues to power up. An 18-minute 2-item spike, I think, is pretty good for CLG, but look at the setup.
CLG is looking to fight here. We have Hui on the roam. Bard ulti is available. We'll see if they go for it.
Stayos is down. He just gets burst out. No wards available. He gets eaten alive. Hui's Gonna look to unleash his power somewhere, but no target available.
Really nice pick there. CLG gets vision control in the river. They set that up with the push from Huhi and the roam up from Afro. Very well played, and this is going to unlock them to go straight for the dragon.
It was great timing as far as trying to make that roam as well. Somehow they found a hole in the wards, and you could see Steos was trying to close the hole in the wards with the check in that brush, really just trying to get in the ward range. And there's Darshan on the rope. Nice pillar!
That was really well interrupted. A two-man knockup from the Keeper's verdict. Darshan gets booted away by the hammer as Lecrit devours up Kira. Able to waddle away to safety. Dragon goes down, but nothing else.
Yeah, the pillar wards off disaster, though, from Smurf. By pillaring, it looked like he canceled Darshan's heroic charge. It's still going to be trouble from a pressure perspective, though. Stixxay can roam up and get that mid lane turret.
And I've got to give some credit to Lecrit. He has been really in the right place a lot of the time here, eating up his teammates, keeping them safe from that CC. And although he hasn't had the most spectacular ultimates, the rest of his non-Gench play has been on point.
Gonna be very important as the game breaks out.
Oh, Afro goes in.
Afro, he takes a lot more damage than he was expecting. Kira gets the summoner healer. Devour comes out. Darshan's coming from behind. No ultimate available. Pins a miracle against the wall. Steos fancies the pounce in. Goes up, but Stixxay flashes out. Very good stun from Afro move. He takes a magical journey to safety. Albus knocks Luna. They're running forward. Kira's about to go down, but he stays alive for a few seconds longer as he's devoured by Lecrit. It's a 1-for-0 in favor of CLG, and in a 5-on-4, they're forcing Albus Nox away. Looking at Steos, he needs a javelin to connect.
And I think this fight speaks to how much a poke comp needs to set up to be effective. That was such a sloppy engage as the fighting continues.
And Afro gets away just out of range of the claws.
Oh, what a close fight, but ANX is going for the turret, and we're going for Darshan!
He's down! They take him out, the tower stays alive, and Stixxay is able to zone the rest of Albus Nox away. At the end of the day, 1-for-1 in that trade.
But they could get the turret here. There's not much wave clear in position for CLG, and I don't know if they can hold on.
Yeah, I think they're just going to be able to push through it. Xmithy's trying desperately to clear the wave, but it's not to be. It's just about getting harassed down as much as possible. But thinking back to the beginning of that fight, it was really greedy by CLG to jump in there. I think the reason they didn't all die, though, is because Albus Nox is that poke composition, and unless they're getting setup time on you, you can make bold engages like that. So expect many more crazy-looking things from CLG as this game continues.
It's also one of those things where maybe it's giving them a little bit too much respect. They're like, oh, CLG wouldn't do this? That's crazy. It must be something we don't see. But yeah, I mean, Stixxay going through the portal into their team, I think they could have capitalized on it.
Bard, Elise, and then Ezreal. It's not like Poppy's coming through that portal. It's just a bunch
It's a clown car, Jet.
Just keep coming. Afro nearly dies, but they do get the stun onto Kira. Stixxay comes through immediately just to shift back, but it was Darshan coming in to make the play and kill a miracle.
Ends up being a 1-for-1. The gold is now even. We've gone over 21 minutes, and the tension is still building. CLG not looking as dominant as maybe they were to be expected. However, they are dictating the tempo of the game, and they are now sieging up. Steos gets caught by a cocoon. Teleport for Smurf matched by Darshan in that bottom lane. And the game is still even marginally in favor of Albus Nox, but truthfully, without that setup, without the distance and the right situation, it's much harder for Albus Nox's team comp to truly shine.
And I also want to talk about where these teams are strong from a composition perspective. Stixxay is by far the strongest player on CLG right now with the 2 kills on Ezreal and the Iceborne Gauntlet completed. So he is really the carry for this one, and CLG also has good engage as well as a large ability to get picks. Albus Nox is...
Speaking of those picks.
Yeah, Albus Nox is in trouble. Good flash away from a miracle. He stays alive. Afromu gets devoured. A miracle takes him down. Very good timing. A second kill in the Stixxay. I didn't even see Steos coming in. Smurf is going to be a recipient of a death as Huhi sends him to the fountain. It's a 1-for-2 in favor of Albus Nox.
And Albus Nox was actually pinging briefly onto the Baron there. Got me a little bit scared for them as it's pretty early to go for that, but getting 2 kills on the top side, playing very well. These guys, you have to respect their play, both as far as the actual individual skills and the macro play. They're matching up extremely well against CLG.
Yeah, and their goal distribution is actually a lot more equal, which we kind of got to see an example of that right there. You would think that Albus Nox's composition is about bottom lane, but really, they're getting a lot of kills just in these skirmishes. It's a straight-up 2v2 right here, and Lecrit is the one that engages this, so we caught up to this later. It wasn't a pick as much as Albus Nox was trying to pick off CLG right here, and they do. Nidalee paths here before Xmithy. They kill Afromu first, and very easily are able to pick up Stixxay second.
And CLG was able to get the return kill on the bot side as Darshan had already forced out the ultimate. but it's a smaller prize.
As we come out of that replay, important to note, Lecrit right now has dealt more damage to enemy champions than A Miracle or Steos. Big indicator of his playstyle and frontline preferences.
Is that real? Like, is that a real statistic?
My stats whisperers inform me so.
Wow.
I'm
That's
willing
impressive. Tom Kench is not the guy. So essentially, we have some backstory on this as well. Lecrit by far and away did a higher percentage of his team's damage than any other support at Worlds, but most of that is attributed to him playing brand support. When he's able to do it on Tom Kench in a poke composition as well, it's rather impressive.
Smurf does not care about Darshan. Subjugate's available if he needs a quick heal. He's going to be able to just back away after a little chomp, and he's just looking for the tower. It's 2-2 in tower kills, and CLG, they find themselves in a slightly awkward position. It's 25 minutes of the game. We're starting to crest mid-game. I think Albus Nox have still got a very strong poke composition, but they can't afford to get jumped on, so no overextending. Smurf is going to be very careful if he's that brave on the towers alone.
Their composition is honestly pretty well-rounded. They do have good poke, but they also have safety from that Tom Kench. They've split push from the Trundle, so it's not a one-dimensional setup.
Yeah, and another swing and a miss there from CLG. The Bard ult missed while Darshan was trying to come in from the side. For Albus Nox, it's about keeping their wards up and then actually poking CLG when CLG is at objectives, because I think that's what CLG will try and use to draw the poke comp in. But you can kind of corner yourself if you're not careful.
Good damage onto Kira. Gonna be forced to back away. That's the Mortier shield pop. Lecrit's gonna get jumped on as Steos is trying to save him. Smurf puts up that pillar of ice, and that should buy some additional time. A chomp comes down from Smurf. There's the culling on the side lane from a Miracle. CLG running for their life. Smurf goes back in with Subjugate, but Kira's down. Stixers find him. Now 6A's the target. A Miracle still with a lot of HP, but he's running out of teammates. A Miracle goes down. Flashed out from. Survives thanks to the heal. Manages to get away. Steos saves his life. It's 3-0 in favor of CLG.
Stixay is getting so much work done in these team fights, being very aggressive on the Ezreal. He knows he's the strong point for the team, and he's making it work.
And so many of these fights are just dictated by mechanics and how well a team can communicate, because these are very chaotic fights, so to speak. Darshan tracks down Steos. I don't think he can catch the Nidalee. But specifically in that fight, I feel like Kira got super greedy. They could have just given away the Drake. At the very start, he gets poked down, but it's later in the fight where he actually makes the mistake.
Yeah, he does get poked out. He backs off, but he wants to stay involved, and he will later re-enter the fight. But on the bot side, you can see everything is just breaking out.
Yeah, and here is a point where Albus Nox can disengage. But watch, Kira throws a shock blast, then he's waiting on his Q cooldown because he wants to get another shot through. But what happened right after that is Stixay just shifted to him. Now they might keep Baron, though. This is going to work.
Look at the mini-map. CLG on there. Albus Nox. They're going to sneak it. There's enough vision. There's enough time. What on earth is happening? Albus Nox punished the back timing of CLG and steal Baron from underneath their noses.
CLG had no idea what was going on. There was no pings. Not one person was looking to check that. And Albus Nox, Luna are looking good. Gold is dead even.
Yeah, and I think that's actually just a big mistake by CLG, not keeping account their vision control and the death timers of Albus Nox Luna. They had won the previous fight by getting 3 people dead and then also seeing Steos on the top side of the map. So what CLG can do if they want to prevent that from happening, the Baron rush, is they take their own Drake with fewer people and they stagger their backs to get a quick ward on Baron or have people there to stop it. They did none of those things though, which basically means they were caught sleeping.
I also love the fact that they're kind of mitigating some of the strength that CLG has with the double Mountain Dragon, because that is really one of the biggest strengths of that is taking Baron, and now that objective is off the map.
That is indeed. Smurf will likely go down. Actually, he definitely will. 4 members of CLG coming to run him down. 6A gets the kill with the help of Aframu. The tower's still standing, but at what cost? When CLG throw a party in the top lane, Albus Nox takes down the tower in the bottom.
Yeah, and the mid lane. There's Baron minions here, so they're much more powerful as far as pushing is concerned. Not to mention they have a Nidalee empowered Lucian for attack speed and a Jace. They're going to take turrets faster. CLG is getting demolished in this trade.
The Keeper's Verdict did nothing. The minions weren't even hammered away. Darshan's doing what he can, but it's simply not enough. That's 3 towers to 1. Yes, CLG also got another kill, but Albus Nox have blown this map wide open.
And I really have to credit Albus Nox, especially when CLG's reputation is the teamwork team, because Albus Nox is out-rotating CLG for most of the last 5 minutes, from the Baron rush to that last turret trade. Teams are often scared of trying this against CLG, and it's how CLG wins a lot of their games in NA. Well, that's not how they're winning here.
Well, Lecrit's brought some friends this time around. Dashon's teleporting into safe Stixxay, but Dashon doesn't know that the rest of Albus Nox are here. Teleport cancelled. That's a big cooldown blown.
It was actually pretty smart, though. It did make Albus Nox Luna hesitate a little bit. It keeps Stixxay alive, keeps him safe, and that is their big carry at the moment. They funneled both the turrets' local gold into him on his top side as well, so they are really putting all their eggs in this one basket.
Yeah, he has a 1,000 gold lead on anyone else on the enemy team. Huhi, because of his farm as well, is also that strong, but when we're watching the team fight, it's definitely Stixxay who is really what all of COD's damage is coming out from.
About 20 minutes ago, the Twitter vote said it was 80% favored for CLG. I wonder if those votes have swung. Counter Logic Gaming set up in and around the Dragon Pit. They managed to get out alive thanks to the magical journey. And itemization is great. We're approaching 30 minutes and Albus Nox still maintain a minor lead.
And this game can still be extremely swingy, especially when you consider that CLG is running no real sustain aside from the Bard health packs he can leave on the ground. And there's a huge amount of poke coming out from Albus Nox. So if Kira can get one good shock blast from the Fog of War, it can completely push CLG off of an objective. And they have to be incredibly careful about where they move.
At this point in the game, you gotta think that Albus Nox Luna is answering a lot of their critics' questions. You know, sure, they got some kills against Rocks, but they couldn't play a controlled game. They couldn't play a macro game. What else is this game but that? This is a very high-level macro game.
And now they are in the most difficult test of any macro, closing out. Especially because it's 30 minutes, it's completely even. Neither team has a dominant lead.
And I would say it's an even more difficult task to close out an even game, because it's very much that. It's 1 Drake to 2, 5 turrets to 5, and a 1,000 gold differential. So it is really just a match of wits now between CLG and Albus, and both these guys are team play teams. What's interesting is CLG's winning the close team fights. It's Albus Nox that are getting their advantages from team play.
Yeah, Albus Nox playing the map. Very big javelin tosses from Stayoffs. Albus Nox going to secure an uncontested tower, thanks to keeping multiple members of CLG in the mid lane. So again, another example of Albus Nox understanding how to play the comp, how to play the map, and they've got every single outer turret down from CLG. Only the inhibitors left to knock on.
It's also the fact that Darshon's is getting straight up outscaled at this point. It's going to be very hard for him to really match up against that Trundle in a side lane. And wave clear on Poppy is not very good at all.
So it's making it even more difficult to actually set up any type of teleport flank, which is what COD would generally need to engage a clean team fight. Albus Nox still has pretty good defensive ward coverage. There's only one ward that's behind them, and they're being pretty cautious of warding their flanks when they are trying to move up to siege a turret.
Warding the flanks is what CLG has to maintain control of. We heard right at the beginning of the game, Dashon talking about being the underdog. Surprising by how well they can play. They were not the underdog in this game. The opposite was true, and now all of a sudden, it's Albus Nox stepping up.
And I say it as a joke often, but there's a lot of truth to it. CLG performs inversely to their expectations. When people expect them to lose, they win. And as soon as you give them credit, like when they're the 2-time defending champions, and that's all we want to say in North America, they finish 4th. And then they come into Worlds and no one thinks they'd win. They beat the #1 seed from Europe. Hey, they're great again. Now, they're in an incredibly close game against the team from the CIS. So it is, you never know what you're going to get with CLG.
It's the story of CLG, and even speaking with Zix, their coach, you know, he talks about that is their struggle, the highs and the lows, the inconsistencies of CLG, and just ironing that out to be able to consistently play at that highest level.
Yeah, but this is actually a really interesting moment in the game. The Cloud Drake's going down. It's a double Mountain Drake CLG. This turret will melt.
It is going down. A third of the hit points missing. Lecrit's come up from the mid lane, bringing some support. Kira's managed to make it back to base. Okay, Dragon secured. That is the Cloud Drake. Next one will be Elder. 6 minutes time, and the top lane's being pushed in by Dashon. Albus Nox, when aggressive, have had good macro. Now they need to show macro on defensive play is good as well, because CLG have got control of the top half of the map.
And the game has such slim margins as well. Remember how we're talking about how low CLG sustain is and how potent Albus Nox's poke can be. When CLG is making these moves, if they catch one stray spear or shock blast, it could shut down the entire push. That would mean a recall and 40-second delay, depending if it landed on someone like Huhi.
Certainly will, and it's going to be a lot on people like Darshan to be in the front line and soaking those up, kind of be that sponge who can eat some of those shock blasts.
Look at that goal difference over time. No more than a
Oh, they're looking for a pick here.
Here they go.
Look at that later. Steos is dead. I was too busy looking at the pretty graphic.
Afro has his ult.
He's going to devour Kira. Flashes out. The golden nobody caught out. Licrit is going to stay alive for a few seconds longer. Grey Health not going to survive 5 members of CLG. Made that 4 as Darshan was down the bottom lane.
Really good play from CLG. They get control of vision. They spring the trap and they get 2 kills as well as both summoners off Kira.
And it's the second time this game CLG has been able to wait prior to an objective respawning. That happened before with one of the Mountain Drakes, and it happened there with Baron, and they get big advantages because of their strat.
Inhibitor's going to drop here, uncontested from the 3 members of Albus Nox. Decent poke, but look at the minion wave up top. Smurf is trying to delay, but he's not doing a huge amount. Stixay gets caught up by some poke, and Smurf again trying to push up. This is a 3v5 for a few seconds longer. Steos has just spawned. Abyssal Voyage is available for Licrit if he wants to try again the back line. Kira goes forward to the skies, throws out the hammer shot. Smurf is running down Darshan. After it was delivered by Licrit. Stixay, Huhi, Afro, they're all low, but Steos goes down. He can't get the kill. Flash forward from Smurf. That's the shutdown. He's got 3 to find and a GA to pop. Now Kira's going low. He joins the fray. Kira's down. Stixay's got 2. That's the culling coming out as Stixay's finally killed. Afro stays alive. GA respawns Darshan. There goes the Tempered Fate. Once again, nobody caught. Licrit waddling, lashes down Afro move, and Darshan's gonna run for his life. A 4 for 3, but the base is broken open.
Crazy fight, but very greedy from CLG to stay around with such low health bars. Huhi had been tanking that inhibitor turret. He was below half. Stixay gets tagged by a spear. Just look at the health bars. Huhi's almost dead. Afro's almost dead. Darshan is dying, and then the fight breaks out.
And the worst part for CLG is if they just completely run, Albus Nox gets Baron, so they almost have to fight, and the skill shot accuracy in this fight was incredibly low. Steos wasn't able to land spears. Stixay dodged it on the side. Kira misses that shock blast. If these are landing, it's a total wipe for CLG and a Baron for Albus Nox. So if not for the dodging of Stixay, CLG get a huge deficit off that play, but because they have the ability to dodge the skill shots, it stays close, they get the inhibitor, and the Baron doesn't immediately go over to Albus Nox Luna.
Yeah, it was 2 extra kills picked up there from Stixay, and he is getting very big. 8, 2, and 4 now, has his Bloodthirster. He's almost fully completed his build. He's going to be massive.
Yeah, he is massive already. Stixay's dealt 33,000 damage to Albus Nox Luna. Miracle's dealt 11,000, and Licrit 9,000. So still very, very close. Keep getting those damage numbers from our stats benders, as Licrit is famous for that. But now look at the vision around Baron, and CLG have got control.
Yeah, and they're trying to sweep. They're actually just going to start it. The double Mountain Drake is so fast. Smurf have to teleport in right away. They might even be willing to go for a 50-50. Will we see a fight?
Smurf is teleporting into the pit. Baron's been peeled away from, and Albus Nox are split up. They're a poke comp, remember. Huhi gets caught, spit up, spat out, and Smurf has got him. Now it's a 5v4. Darshan's the next target. Heroic Charge finds no stun. Gonna try get away. Lash, gobble, devoured up. Licrit's gonna spit him out. Another kill to Albus Nox. They turn to Xmithy.
Licrit basically soloed Huhi in that fight, and he's coming back in on the backside of it.
What can Stixay do? He's got full HP, but 5 members from the CIS region to deal with. Xmithy's gonna flash to safety. A Tempered Fate will buy some time for Afro move, but simply not enough. Stixay is able to Arcane Shift to safety, but the Baron is still available. True Shot Barrage up for Stixay.
A completely awkward fight there for CLG. They were split up on both sides. Their carry is with Afromo on the bot side, never able to enter the fight.
Stixay's looking for Licrit. Exhaust goes out. Licrit should go down. Gets a Devour, buys some time. Stixay goes up. They've traded 1-for-1. True Shot Barrage! Not going to steal, but I held my breath. A 1-for-1, and Albus Nox get their second Baron.
And Albus Nox are now, I think, in control of the game because they're going to get their inhibitor respawning while they're going to have the Baron buff to try and push down the other side with poke and maybe actually get the proper setup towards a siege situation. What a series of events.
Earlier today, Papa Smithy shook my hand and said, good luck. And he said, will you cast your second upset today? We're going to find out shortly. Here's the replay.
Yeah, the exhaust from the crit, he held it the entire fight, shows the patience. I think that caught Stixay off guard. He can pick up a kill, but once a miracle came over the wall, there wasn't much more he could do. Albus Nox easily secured the Baron afterwards.
Yeah, but it was really all about the setup. CLG are the ones who started that. They get the TP out from Smurf, and then they just need to disengage as a team, back off, or stay as a squad and fight. They're the team-fighting team. They're the 5-man squad. They split up, and they just really threw away a lot of their power in this game.
And I think it's interesting the fact that they had the double Mountain Drake and they weren't willing to commit to a full Baron rush. They spent a lot of time peeling towards the backside of the Baron, and it definitely backfired. And I think what's most interesting is Lecrit's Tom Kench is a real menace for CLG right now. He was the one who got onto Huhi and took him out of the fight. So if they don't actually deal with the Tom Kench, he is going to create problems for CLG's backline, which isn't how most people play support Tom Kench.
Working for Lecrit. It is working for Albus Nox. Bit of a heal comes out from Steos onto Smurf. Pillar of Ice / Filth, depending how long you play Treadle for. Blocks off Darshan's X. Elder Drake was up, and Albus Nox are putting some vision around, but they didn't start the objective. Very big minion wave pushing towards CLG in the bottom. Someone has to deal with that in the not too distant future.
Yeah, and the game's in a very peculiar place where there's a downed inhibitor on the team that has Baron, so that delays the game in most situations since Albus needs to constantly feint back to mid lane to defend CLG and can't commit to an Elder Drake.
2 seconds ago, it did respawn. Steos is able to get devoured. Single target.
Huhi's in a bad spot.
Huhi's in a terrible spot. Hourglass to save his life. Stixay's the target though. He's trying to run for his life. Very good tempered fate. Double stun a little early. Huhi shot his low too soon. Darshan's down. Stixay's forced to run for his life. But look at that accelerated shot blast. It's a double kill for Kira. And Albus Nox, they're pushing CLG. They've got Baron, and it's a 5-on-2.
Well, these Death Timers, they could actually try to go for the win here.
Yeah.
They are looking to make the upset over CLG.
The later the game got, the better Albus Nox got at team fighting, and with these massive Death Timers and the Baron buff, they're going to look to push for the win.
Lecrit is hungry and he wants to be fed. He won't find Huhi though. I think Huhi is going to get caught out. No, he's done it. Lecrit's interrupted. The rest of Albus Nox, they're looking at the Nexus. They've taken down the turret. They've taken down another. And for the second time at Worlds, a wildcard team has taken down another North American team.
And quick shot, you and I have had the pleasure of casting both this and the INTZ EDG game, and at this point, it can't be that surprising. CLG lost a match to Supermassive at MSI and just lost a straight-up match to Albus Nox Luna here at Worlds. Anything can happen.
Certainly can, and these teams are getting better and better. Albus Nox Luna really representing the CIS very, very well here, and they played this game straight up. They just outplayed CLG.
And notice the difference in the excitement. They're a little bit more excited here, but very measured after this win for Albus Nox Luna. They expect to be able to play against some of these teams, and they showed why in this match.
And I made a mistake. I should not have said a wildcard region. With how well Brazil and the CIS have performed, they're still